You're listening to Three's a Crowd, the North East Footy podcast, with Rye for Borough, Steve for Newcastle United, and Ted for Sunderland.
Good morning.
Morning, flag.
How's the bacon?
That's a mystery. That's a mystery clue to where you are in the world, isn't it?
It is. It is. Yes. It's. I suppose it's a place that would tower above everywhere else as well, isn't it?
See what you did there?
Tangerine. Oh, all of a sudden, this has turned into Mr. Tumble rather than Three's a Crowd. Like what?
You look rock. You look rock wearing that tracksuit.
Oh, I love it. Love it. I'm trying to wrap up as much as possible. It is absolutely deathly cold here, like it's unbelievable. So yes, I'm in Blackpool, lads. I'm over in the UK for a family wedding. So yeah, I'm at the in-laws at the minute, which is why you can't see the normal resplendent red and white background. But yes, episode 22, live from Blackpool. I'm edging close at the Steve. If anything, I'm edging further away from Rye. Yeah. But yeah, it's no personal, mate. It's just travel, isn't it? Yeah, that's all it is.
Between us.
Hey, mate, if your great-great-grandparents hadn't been criminals, you could have been one of us.
It's true.
Apologies to the Invictus family. That's an absolute massive racist claim now going in against me, isn't it? That's it. That's me YouTube short career over with. Just me. Yeah. No, yeah. So yes, plenty going on, lads. I'm very, very excited. I'll be going to a Sunderland match next weekend, which I cannot wait for. It's been a long time. Last time I went, I took Mrs. Ted, and Stoke turned us over 5-1 at home. So I'm hoping for slightly better this time around against Hull. But if we get turned over this time, it's her, and she's the problem. So it's Mrs. Ted needs to just be ready for that, I suppose. Yeah, Blackpool, lads. I got to thinking it's a very, very traditional footballing town. They've got a team who's been up and down, probably more downs through the years, with nefarious owners taking money after they got relegated from the Premier League and all that sort of thing. And it's one of those, though, where it's a cracking day out. I think every football fan loves to come to Blackpool for an away game. And I just thought I'll get you first, Steve, because I know Rye's got mixed feelings about Blackpool. I think we know where he's going to go with that one. But Steve, memories of coming to Blackpool for football games. Have you ever done an away day?
I remember playing Blackpool in the cup years ago, but it wasn't an away day that I went to. It was a home game, and it was back in the days of Paul Gascoigne, and I'm pretty sure it was either the League Cup or the FA Cup. I'm sure somebody in the chat will correct us. It was round about the 87-88 season, I think. But I just have this memory. I'm pretty sure it was the League Cup where we won 4-1. I remember, I think Brian Tinnion scored, and I think Gaza scored. And when Gaza scored, he did this little jig, like a little dance when he scored. But Newcastle's ground at the time as well was getting like redeveloped. And it was just just one of those days when Newcastle really put it on them. We have played them recently. We played them back in the days of Joey Barton and Kevin Nolan and Alan Smith, etc. And Newcastle got beat at home off them. We got beat off them 2-0. It was one of those games where Newcastle turned up, were hoping for an easy 3 points, and came a cropper against a team. But not a game, not a team that we've had many games against. You know what I mean? It's always been, and of course we've been in the either the Premier League or the Championship or the First Division, Second Division, however you want to look at it. And Blackpool, of course, has spent a lot of time in in the lower echelons of football. Sadly for them, but I mean, back in the 50s, great team.
Different story.
Wonderful team. Had star players, and ultimately would get to cup finals on a regular basis. And it's amazing how history's changed over the years. But not a team that we've played a great deal, mate.
Whereas Rye, you made quite a long trip to watch a Blackpool match, didn't you, mate?
I certainly did, mate. The only game I've ever seen of the Borough was a 3-1 loss. No, 3-0 loss. I gave us a consolation goal. We lost 3-0. 2009.
Wow.
It was the Charlie. You remember when Charlie Adam was at Blackpool? Do you guys?
Yeah.
It was Ian Holloway. I think it was Ian Holloway.
Yes.
But
it will have been.
Liverpool Charlie Adam and Gary Taylor Fletcher and
Brett Ormerod.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, so they were
DJ Campbell there as well. Was he another?
Yeah, they did.
Yes.
He was a Sunderland nemesis as well over the past. He always seemed to have a cracking game against us.
He scored against Newcastle in 2010.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah. So they were on the up, and we were struggling. We were obviously newly relegated in 2009. We had the likes of Dave Kitson and some absolute horrid names out there. And we had Brad Jones in goal. Oh, it was just, it was a night to forget. I loved it. It was a fantastic, event for me to be there. But look, Blackpool, obviously, team I watch now because of, Sammy Severa's there on loan. We've had a couple of players from Borough go down to Blackpool.
Yeah. Same here with Sunderland. We had Embleton went to Blackpool earlier at the beginning of the season.
We got Hayden Coulson there as well, the left back. So it's been interesting to see the relationship with the Northeast that Blackpool has.
Yeah, it's a great relationship. I mean, I can't wait. Once we're done with the show, we're going to skip off into town and go and play on the 2p machines on the promenade.
Hey.
Got to keep it real, People think I'm made of money and I do all these extravagant things. And no, we're going to go for fish and chips and play in the 2p machines because why not? It would be remiss of me, being as it's my show today. If you hadn't guessed, that's why Steve's put me in the centre. Not to do a what the fact. So,
hey,
wow,
yes, yeah. It's been a little while since we've done one of these, and it's getting more and more challenging to do. It's what? Sorry,
is this the first of 2025?
Do you know it might be?
I think it is.
It might actually be, yeah. Because I ducked a couple of games when I had to work on a Saturday, didn't I? But there we go. Well dodged. So this one, I either think someone's going to get it instantly, or it's going to be really, really difficult. And I can't make my mind up which way it's going to be. It's either you're going to get it and know it instantly, or it'll take a little bit of thinking. So, just for anybody new, anybody joining us who hasn't played What the Fact before, I have an interesting fact about Northeast football, and I'm going to give you 3 clues to guess what the fact. So, without further ado, clue number 1, gentlemen and ladies, and whatever else you want to identify as. There's nothing sweet about this 16. There's nothing sweet about this 16. That's your first clue.
Okay, 16.
Last time Sunderland Middlesbrough were in the Premier League.
16 games in a row? Possibly. 16 times, 16 games without a win in a derby for Middlesbrough.
Okay, Steve.
I'm gonna have to be honest.
What?
Rye's just got it.
Rye's got it.
Rye,
what did you say?
I've got to give him it. I've actually got to give him it. I can't believe this. When I said somebody's going to get it instantly, I didn't expect you to absolutely trash me game.
Go on. Go on then.
What did you say?
I said last time that Sunderland and Middlesbrough were in the Premier League.
I'll have to give you it because it is true. It's 16 years since all 3 big Northeast teams were in the Premier League together.
Oh, unbelievable, Jeff. Well done, Riley.
I can't believe. Do you want these are the? Oh man, I shouldn't have went with that as the first clue. I had brilliant. I have really like sort of intricate stuff. Yeah, see everyone. That's it. Thanks very much.
You were like Stephen J. Cannell at the end of the A team there.
Yeah, that's a niche reference for some of our viewers. Like, I had really like quite
I'm so
ostentatious clues, like we'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when. The third clue was since this happened, a newborn could now get married and join the army. It's basically, it's 16 years since Newcastle, Sunderland, and Middlesbrough were all in the Premier League together. So thanks for absolutely trashing that. I've been Ted. Over to Rye for the rest of the show. I can't believe you've done that.
I'm so sorry. I know.
I don't think you are.
We talk about it a lot. We come together a lot. We've been, we bring the Northeast teams together, and it's just something that I've always known that at 16, going on 17 years, that the last time us three, because obviously we were in 2015, 16 or 16, 17.
Yeah.
But obviously Newcastle weren't there, but you and I were up there. Obviously we went back down and Newcastle came back up. So obviously we've dodged a few as well. But yes, I knew it was just that's crazy.
That's the first time you've got it without using Google.
I know.
Quite impressive, mate. Well done. But
I mean, no. What do you mean? I never Googled anything.
No, yeah, the Dennis Law one you did. We all know you cheated.
You definitely did.
Well, good job. I've got other stuff to talk about then. Sunderland AFC on their socials yesterday. Obviously, yesterday was Valentine's Day, lads.
Yes.
Went out for a lovely meal with Mrs. Ted last night.
Yes,
mixed grill for me. She went with a steak and ale pie, which is very northern of her. I was quite impressed. She demolished the lot as well. Steve, you'll meet my missus later on this week. I don't know where she puts the food. I really don't but there we go. Yeah, absolutely demolished. But Sunderland AFC on their socials asked a really great question of who made you fall in love with your club. So we'll have that's open to everybody to have a little bit of a chat about in the chat in the comments section. But yeah, who made you fall in love with your club? For me personally, I think I was at the age of Marco Gabbiadini was the one for me that just the way he played the game. I think we were struggling at the time. We were in the old third division, as Steve will remember fondly, probably. This is in the days when you had a playoff for relegation as well. We got beat by Gillingham in the relegation playoff. It was basically the one who was. It was the team to either go up or the team to survive in the division at the time, Steve. I don't think it lasted all that long, that format. It might have only been one season, in fact. But it was Tony Cascarino playing for Gillingham actually put us to the sword and sent us down to the third division. And that's when we got Marco Gabbiadini signed from York City. Dennis Smith, his former manager, who's at the helm at Sunderland, brought him in for next to nothing, to be honest. Like, he was a very, very cheap buy, but Marco was one of those players where he just excited people. He was a fast, direct striker. He scored a load of goals alongside Eric Gates, who had a fantastic career himself, it has to be said. So yeah, Marco for me he epitomised everything about Sunderland at that time. He was a grafter. He had a little bit of a fiery temper about him as well, and just he played the game like he loved it, like it meant something. He was a hard runner. So yeah, I think Marco for me was exactly why I fell in love with Sunderland Football Club. Steve, I've got a feeling I know yours. I think there might be a helicopter involved.
Yeah, it's not KK, but it's Beardsley. Keegan was, of course, the guy who changed Newcastle's fortunes back in 1982 by signing for the club. And, we were in the doldrums, the perennial strugglers in the first division when we were up there, and then usually mid-table, treading away in mid-table in the second division. So Keegan coming in '82, infamous image of him coming down the aeroplane, looking very cold in his white t-shirt after coming from abroad and signing for Newcastle was absolutely fantastic. It just epitomised it with a headline in the Chronicle, "Where in heaven we've got Kevin." But his arrival, obviously brought out the best in Chris Waddle, who'd signed a couple of years earlier from non-league Towlow Town. And then Peter Beardsley arrived from Vancouver Whitecaps. And the first season, of course, Newcastle just failed to win promotion. Keegan got an eye injury at Rotherham and failed to get promoted at the first time of asking. Newcastle sold Imre Berardi, which at the time was as big a, they sold him to one of their rivals, Sheffield Wednesday, was as big a thing as Andy Cole going to Manchester United at the time.
Yeah.
And, then Peter Beardsley coming in was absolutely fantastic. He changed it. And I remember, I've heard the stories, I've done talkings with the lads, as you know, and, Kevin and Terry Mack both were expecting Kenny Dalglish. They got Peter Beardsley and they were like, well, you better be good. He was better than good. He was brilliant. He was the final piece in that promotion jigsaw. He scored some sublime goals, some excellent goals. And when Kevin left in the helicopter and Terry, head off on the motorway and left Newcastle along with Arthur Cox, the manager, it was left to Peter Beardsley and Chris Waddle to carry the mantle, and they did that, and up until 88 when Beardsley was sold, to regenerate the ground, we built a stadium we built a new stand with the money that was sold him for. Peter literally carried the hopes and dreams of the fans on his back. He came back as well, which was fantastic when he came back under Keegan. But the player that really
and was still as good as well, Steve. He still had that quality because I think that's the danger when you have a favourite player like that who comes back to the club. It's like 9 times out of 10, it's never the same, is it? But Beardsley at that time, I mean, I remember it was the derby with Norway fans at Roker Park.
I was there.
Beardsley, yes, I remember you telling us that story actually. But Beardsley ran the show for that, and that was part of his return as well, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I mean, look, ultimately he became one of those icons of the club. He still is an icon. He's one of the best players I've ever seen. And I dare say anybody who is in the same kind of age category as me in their 50s will have, probably fell in love with a football club first, and secondly fell in love with Peter Beardsley because he's just, he's sublime. And you watch the highlights of him on YouTube and you just reminded of how good a player he was. He would be worth in excess of 180 million now as a player. There's a wonderful video which I know Peter watches usually once a week, where they've cooked goals of him and Messi together. There's no difference at all. Him and Messi so similar in so many different levels. Simply the best is what Geordie Toombalay says, and that I would agree 100%. He was simply the best.
I think when you get a player that a move is named after, like the Cruyff turn, but the Beardsley shimmy. When you get something like that a move is named after you, I think that's when you've pretty much hit the greatness levels. And I mean, even as a Mackem, you've got to recognise that Beardsley was just an absolutely undeniable talent. And like you say, if he was born in South America, there'd be statues built of him all over the place by now. But moving on to our Rye, I think I know where we're going with this one because obviously that's the reason that you ended up falling in love with Borough. But are there any other players since, or are we sticking with your former?
No, obviously Mark Schwartz is the man that got me falling in love with football, so I can't go past him. But I was thinking about this, and I have to give an honourable mention to one was Massimo Macaroni when he scored that goal, Stuart Brecaris, to get us into the Europa Cup final. I mean, that night made me fall in love with Middlesbrough because it was just scenes, one of the most incredible nights. And the other person is someone that just yesterday we remembered Ali Brownlee. He's not a player, obviously. He was the commentator though, but Ali Brownlee who said in that goal, everyone around my house took, for a Palmo. It was his commentary on Massimo Macaroni's goal was just a night that I will never ever forget. As a young kid, just going, what is this world? Like I grew up it's hard to explain to people in Australia what that type of reaction is because we have obviously AFL and NRL here and rugby and that, but I don't think there's any sport that can create quite the feeling of a cup game or a cup win or anything like that. I mean, there's grand finals and stuff here, but even then it's nothing like, the night that Massimo Macaroni got us back in and sent us off to a final. It was just something that I just gives, hairs are standing up now. So Massimo Macaroni made me fall in love all over again with my town, my club, my place. Ali Brownlee, the commentator as well. But obviously the key is Mark Schwarzer. Mark Schwarzer was a man that I idolized. I mean, as a person, as a professional, as a goalkeeper, he just, and what he did for not only Middlesbrough in the amount of record appearances, and I love that dedication. You know what I mean? That someone could go and play in the Premier League 300 and odd games for one club, which is just unheard of, these days normally, because someone else will come and buy you. So to have that, and then what he did for Australian football as well, he saved one of the biggest penalties ever to send us to our World Cup. So Mark Schwarzer as well. But those other two as well. There's a lot in there. But
good call on Ali Brownlee as well, because it isn't always about the footballers, is it?
No,
it's one of the things I love about Sunderland Football Club is the humour of the fans. We'll have the sort of gallows humour. We know we're never going to be absolute world beaters, and it's that kind of makes it. It's that togetherness. So it's not just about the players. I get that. Oh, good call, mate. Good call. Sticking with Rye then. Games since we last spoke, gentlemen. Rye obviously had an away trip to Bramall Lane, which was always going to be, I think, a difficult ask. I think, given the mood around the camp. Tough one, that one, Rye, and you got it back to 1-1. Even I know everyone screenshot it because I went on your channel and I said, "Come on, Borough."
You did.
I thought you were going to do us a favour, but ultimately, are they really that strong? Are they going to run away and get promoted, mate?
I don't think they're that. Look, it's so hard to tell because Middlesbrough at the moment are that bad. Defensively, we are that bad. I haven't seen us, be this poor defensively in such a long time, and we're really doing the Sunderland of last year, where you just fell apart towards the end of the season. After the manager changes and all that sort of stuff, and slid down the table. And then we were talking, at that time, Teddy boy, about oh my God, could you face relegation? Like our form at the moment is that poor that look, Sheffield United, I must give them credit. They were good, especially at Bramall Lane. They've got a good squad there. Do you know what I mean? They've got some real talent. That Ben Harmer, he's incredible in the midfield there. That Rucksaki, on the right as well. Sheffield United are obviously going to, they're probably going to go up again. I think it's hard not to, but it's just incredible to see, Newcastle fans will remember what they did to Sheffield United in the Premier League just the season before. But such is the gap in the championship that they've come back down and they're blowing us, other teams away again. So, look, Middlesbrough sadly are in a need of a big shake-up. It's the fans have had enough now. We've had lots of promises this year of playoffs, and we've spent a lot of money in the squad. I can't remember a January transfer window where we've probably felt that it's come out worse, I would say, when we see the signings and all that now and how we lined up against Sheffield United. And it's taken the wind out of everyone's sails. We all thought it was going to be a big promising season, but unfortunately the loss to Sheffield United, obviously Watford at home today. If there's no 3 points today, there's some serious questions now around Michael Carrick and his future, and it's not from the fans. I think it's going to have to be within the club as well, because we've got a real chance this season to make the playoffs in what is arguably, apart from that top 3 or 4 with you guys, the rest are all pretty, neck tied around that 44-point mark. It's a really weak sort of playoff mix. You know what I mean? There's the top 4 that including yourselves, that are running away with it, but the rest are all 3 points away from being in there, sort of thing. So, but in saying that, you've got the teams down the bottom with Plymouth and all that are starting to really.
Plymouth have just started. Yeah, what's going on there?
Incredible, mate. Like, they beat Liverpool and now they're just world beaters. So, and that teams like Derby appointing John Eustace, which was crazy midweek as well. So look, we've got to be careful, because we're, instead of looking where that gap between Sunderland, now we've got to start looking over our shoulder, because our form and our defensive errors, mate, are just are that poor that. Yeah, I'm starting to get worried a little bit.
The Sunderland out of reach now. That 18-point gap. It's. I think that's definitely gone now.
Yeah, the gap. I wouldn't even be worried about the gap now. We're worried about Michael Carrick signed a new deal in the summer. So much promise. We went and got Latte Lath, kept him. He's gone now. Our top scorer. There's so many ifs and buts at the moment around the club that. You can't even sit there and go, oh, but what about the gap between the top 4? It's literally, can we make the playoffs still at the moment? Because
Yeah.
At the moment, Blackburn, West Brom, you know what I mean?
Coventry are flying under Lampard
you
at
know
the
what I
minute.
mean? Like,
Unbelievable.
there's incredible, QPR as well. So like there's some teams in there that are just absolutely playing worldly better than we are. Do you know what I mean? So, and to be all honest, the way we're playing, the way we're defending at the moment, we don't deserve the playoffs because we cannot keep a lead. We can't. We bring it back to 1-1, mate, against a good Sheffield United thing, and then in the second half we collapse defensively again, and it's just Borough fans alike. I just
you can see some of the comments, right? That they almost expected it after half time. The fans, it was no real big surprise, was it?
No, it's a sad state of affairs with the fans at the moment. And look, today's I think there's around 4,000 to 5,000 tickets still available. Do you know what I mean? At the Riverside Stadium. So
wow,
it's against Watford. I think they've really sort of, unfortunately, no one's interested at the moment. The club had a meeting with the fan bases a couple of weeks ago, asking what can we do for the atmosphere, and their response was play better football. Do you know what I mean? Like so. Which is where we're at, and unfortunately, I think it's going to be a case of
it's play Sunderland every week, because that way your fans turn up.
We need something, mate. We need something. We'll turn up. The bloody players, mate. I tell you,
it's true. That's true.
It's frustrating enough at the moment, but look, I think arguably at the moment the biggest question around Borough is, will Michael Carrick? If there's no 3 points today, Teddy boy, Michael Carrick's in for a big week.
Yeah, we'll come to the predictions and all that later on, but I think you're right. I think it's touch and go now, because it's not just automatic spots, and I expected Middlesbrough to be up there. I've got to be honest with you. We said that from the beginning of the season, but now it's facing a battle to even stay in the playoff race. That's worrying, and that's not where Middlesbrough should be. Not a chance. Not with the talented players that they have got,
not with the team
undeniably as well.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve, the FA Cup run continues. You're going to win both cups. You've still got a chance of winning the league. The treble's still on. It's but the FA. I was interested in the FA Cup draw just to see where that took you. And really, Newcastle have no luck with these draws. Like Brighton at home is not an easy game.
It's not, but it's at home. That's the difference. Newcastle, anybody at home, it'll make a difference. I think, with a league game against Brighton, the atmosphere just was terrible. Newcastle lost the game this season, and the fans struggle to get up for it. This is an opportunity for Newcastle fans, really, I think, to show, again, how much these cup runs mean, and getting through to the quarterfinals would be special. So, I think as well, because this cup's opening up for a couple of teams: Newcastle, Man City, Aston Villa, all still in it, and all capable of winning this trophy. This is probably the most winnable out of the two. The Liverpool game is going to be a big mountain to climb, and you're banking on your players being fit. But I keep saying it, we're an Isaac injury away from disaster. But ultimately, we are in this kind of position, which is a great one to be in. So it's a home draw. Anybody at home, the atmosphere is going to play a huge part in this. So we've just got to hope that we can we get that look at the draw with the injuries, which we didn't get last year, and we can get into quarterfinals. And hopefully another couple of teams have slipped, and it's a great opportunity. You don't get opportunities like this very often. We've got to try and grab it with both hands. One cup would be great. 2 cups would just be typical Newcastle.
You wait X amount of years and then 2 come along at once. Yeah, it's pretty much. I'll tell you who I was impressed with, Steve. I thought Asula had a great game. He's a bit of a wind-up merchant. He gets in people's faces a bit, but his work rate I thought was excellent. Obviously, you're not playing a superstar team by any means, but I just thought for showing a bit of willing and trying to take an opportunity to get into the first team, I thought it was a really, really good performance at the weekend.
I kept saying to the lads, because the lads were the same, they were getting all excited, and my view on Asula was very simple. Look, we're playing a League One team. So many times over the years that I've been a Newcastle fan, we've played teams from a lower level in the FA Cup, and we've come a cropper. We ended up getting, Exeter, Hereford, you name it, Cambridge at home under Eddie Howe. We've come a cropper against teams who we should really have beaten out of sight. So yeah, the positive was we came back from a goal after 45 seconds and we won the game 3-2. But it was a first division team, a League One team, who's flying, who will be in the Championship next season, who've got money behind them. But you've got to take that into consideration. If that was Asula doing that against Man City today or against Liverpool in the cup final, I'd agree 100%. But it's all about level. It's all about levels. I'm not getting too carried away. It was good to see him put a performance in. It's good to see him winding them up. He did his job that he was asked to do. He's raw talent. I don't know what position is his best position. My view was he was better on the wing than he was when he went up front. Other people who I spoke to who watched exactly the same game felt the opposite and felt he was better when he went up front. He's not a winger. But, listen, he did the job he was asked to do on the day. That's all we can ask for. And, we've got to be happy. The treble is still on.
And just a quick one, just before we go to the troll of the week. We mentioned it in our little WhatsApp chat when we were watching the game. Jay Stansfield, he's a sort of striker that really Newcastle could do with going in for. I think in terms of not just in building stature, he's a similar sort of player to what Isaac is, and I think there's some talent there to be developed. And a move to somewhere like Newcastle would arguably be the next logical step for Jay Stansfield.
I agree. I think there'll be a big club sniffing around him. He scores goals. I know we've been linked with Rig, for instance, at Sunderland, on and off because of his Newcastle connections, his family's Newcastle connections. I think Stansfield's ahead of Rig. But I think Rig's getting there. I think slowly but surely, as he gets more games under his belt, more experience, he'll be that. But yeah, I think there'll be a big offer comes in for Stansfield. I'm not sure it'll be Newcastle. And Newcastle certainly seem to be aiming a little bit, further afield. They've signed a striker from Galway this week. Young lads. They are looking for young talent, but I don't think they'll overpay for players. And I think Stansfield will demand a high fee. The people who are putting money into Birmingham will certainly want money coming in for somebody like him, but we'll wait and see. But yeah, I was impressed by him, mate. You see why he's a hero down there.
Yeah, without a doubt. Anyway, should we roll out the cat?
Yeah, Troll of the Week, we've got some good ones. This was an unfortunate sign. They thought that the Christian Life International alone would signify a church, so they added the cross. Magnificent. Vince Smith's comment made me laugh. They always hit the spot. Well done, Vince.
Yes. Whereas I looked for them and I couldn't find them.
Hey! The Felling group had a great post this week. Who can remember Keegan's hot dog stands in Newcastle? These mobile hot dog dispensaries were run by Kevin Keegan, the former owner of Newcastle United. He designed and built the popular hot dogs, which were sold together with bread buns and fried onions. He sold the franchise in '85 after denouncing meat and announcing he was now Keegan the Vegan. He left Newcastle in a helicopter and hasn't been seen since. Amazing how many people actually started an argument on that thread, thinking that he was actually being serious. An Arsenal fan went to a travel agent to ask about a holiday. Where can I go for a decent city break in England? Asked the Arsenal fan. You can't beat Newcastle, the travel agent replied. And Scouser went into a travel agent and said, can you recommend a nice little holiday on the south coast? Travel agent replies, well, you can't beat Plymouth this time of year. Here's the effect of drugs, lad. The top photo. The second photo is alcohol, and the third one is Manchester United.
Thank you, mate.
And this was great. Nothing like Barnet away, lads.
Oh, wow. Oh, my. That's a hell of a syrup.
And the winner was this late edition. December, Mackenzie Kinsella flew from Australia to Liverpool for the Merseyside derby, only for it to be cancelled because of Storm Dara. February, Mackenzie got to see Everton's last Merseyside derby in Goodison Park because Seamus Coleman paid for his flights from Australia.
Dear me. What a class act, man. That's class.
Very good, very good. Good stuff. Yeah. Thank you for your trolls of the week. Send them over to me. at Steve Ray, Ted at Ted the Mackham, or Rye at Invictus. We'll get them featured on the show next week.
Lovely that. And what a class actor in Seamus Coleman. He's well, arguably, and I've heard other professionals talk about him. Frank Lampard was on the Overlap talking about him, just saying what an absolute unbelievable professional, what a nice guy. So yeah, it's a nice little touch to see that done for a fan. But enough of Middlesbrough and Newcastle. I think we need to talk Mackham stuff. I think we need to go there, don't we, Rye?
Yeah.
A very, very professional win against Luton during the week. Never looked in danger, but Luton did have the ball in the net on one case. It was quite obviously an offside decision. We never seemed to get out the second gear or third gear in the game, which seemed to agitate a few fans. But to be honest, it was just never in doubt. And all right, beating Luton this season isn't the same as beating them 2 seasons ago. They're not the same club at all. But when you can actually win games, grind them out. It's the first time we've won by more than 1 goal since October as well. So that was actually important to kind of put a game to bed for once, rather than be on the back foot and concede late equalisers and things like that, which we're being known to do. So listen, it opened up that gap. It stretched our gap right to 18 points, that win, which puts it firmly as a 4-horse race for promotion. To be honest, now I think that's pretty obvious.
No one's getting there now.
The next trick for us is how do we break the 3 teams above us, and we've got an opportunity to do that on Monday night. It's going to be a hell of a game. Obviously, we'll come to you lads with your predictions for your games first, but it's a little bit further off in the distance. Monday night away at Leeds United. And to be honest, Sunderland have been absolutely buoyed by the news that Romain Mundle is actually back in the squad. He's available. I would have thought he'd probably start from the bench for the game, but all the same, to have a player of his calibre coming back into the squad right on the run into the end of the season, the business end of the season, that's a really, really big news for Sunderland, isn't it?
Yeah, it's incredible, mate. And obviously, when we last played you, Romain Mundle was, in the first, fixture, Romain Mundle was the difference. And to have him coming back, and then you've got Enzo Lafie, who is Enzo Lafie at the moment, who, is just, it's kind of like, where can you fit him? And I think it's that sort of timing of the injuries and the gap you've already created, and it just adds to that that massive run. Look, it's incredible to see, and it's a 4-horse race now, for those first 2 spots, and then you think the other 2 are going to play it off in the playoff final. So to have you're going to need a Mundle, you might need Watson as well, Enzo Lafie and all that, because there's still a lot of games to go. Do you know what I mean? So to keep that that front sort of group fit, I think is going to be very, very interesting. And to have a player like Mundle coming back is incredible. Just to have him, at any point on the match where, if there is an injury to touch wood, that to Enzo Lafie or anything like that, to have a player of caliber of Romain Mundle come in is just incredible. So, I think the timing of your injuries seemingly are all sort of, aligning quite well. And, what I love as well is there's no risk of anything else, really. Do you know what I mean? The only real thing was that Pervader incident, which was interesting as well, which was so that's really it, coming out of Sunderland at the moment. Where this time last year, we didn't know where your manager was. We didn't know what was going on. Do you know what I mean? It was you were floating.
I don't think our manager knew who our manager was, to be honest.
Exactly. So it's completely now flipped on, and now it's the injuries coming back at the right time. You've got the form. You've got the players. You've got Ballard who came in, for Metfam as well. So it's a good time to be a Sunderland fan for sure. And I think it's going to be very interesting. And as I just said, I think it's a 4-horse race now. Yeah,
it's Steve. Rye's already touched on it there. The midfield, certainly with Mundle back in the equation, that midfield becomes a nice bit of a selection headache for Regis Lebris to figure out, because Enzo Lafie isn't a winger. For all he came in on the left wing, he scored his first goal for the club against Luton, beautifully taken, exactly in the style that Romain Mundle would have scored it as well, perversely. But Enzo Lafay is more of a central player, that opens up the problem of to fit into our shape, somebody has got to be dropped out of that midfield. Now, for me, it's not going to be Dan Neil because he's captain. And to be honest, I'll hold my hands up. I've been critical of Dan Neil over the past, and it's for the reasons I think that we've discussed before. He's the local lad, and there's always going to be that additional pressure on somebody who is a local player, who's come through the ranks, who's a fan of the club. There's huge expectation and huge pressure on, and I'm guilty of putting that on Dan Neil myself. But I think in the last month or two, Dan Neil has been absolutely exceptional. His range of passing, his running with the ball, his stats against Luton Town were absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. I mean, it was like something ridiculous, like one misplaced pass out of 48, I think it was. It was like a 99% pass completion. His running with the ball was good. His decision making's good, and he leads. He's really starting to mature and grow into that role. So Dan Neil's not going to be dropped. You just can't drop him. Next, you've got Job, who, when he's not there, is missing. We could. That sounds like an obvious thing to say. Of course, it's missing, but you notice it. It's noticeable when Job's not there, and there's certain jobs that he does that you don't see. He's not just an attacking midfielder. He does a lot of tracking back. He does a lot of work off the ball, and he's one that I just don't think you can drop. Chris Rigg at this moment, I love Riggy. Riggy's got such a huge, huge future ahead of him. But I just feel that Chris Rigg is actually going through the same thing as what Job went through last season. As in, I think there's a little bit of fatigue there. And I think he just needs to be rested a little bit and take care of players like that. We've seen it historically with many, many young players. Michael Bridges, great example of somebody who was young, who was just completely overplayed, and they end up either burning out or picking up bad injuries. So for me, and I don't know whether you would agree, Steve, because I know you've seen a few of the Sunderland games so far this season, but if Lafay is going to go central, does Chris Rigg actually lose his starting berth in that team, do you think?
Probably. That was what I was going to say. I think Chris Rigg probably does. And I know that's going to be harsh on the lad, but you've got to ask, what does he really bring? He brings a lot of effort, a lot of hard work and effort. He's a grafter. He brings the odd goal, but the difference between winning this league and the difference between coming up on the short side of it and ending up in the playoffs is contribution from other parts of the pitch. You're relying on your forwards to score goals, but you're relying on your midfielders to score goals, and that's what you need. In this division, midfielders need to be scoring 10 plus goals. That's what you need, and I think that's where he comes up short at this moment, and that comes down to experience, games. You only get that opportunity by playing games. I think he'll be a really useful sub for Sunderland, and he can come on and change games. And of course, there's always that possibility of suspensions and injuries, which means he gets his place back. But I think that'll be where he makes the change, and I think it's an easy one to make in a lot of ways, because he's still young, he's still learning the game, he's still a very young player. You'll be thankful for still being involved and being part of it. But again, as well, it just depends on what kind of mentality some of these players have in the dressing room. Who plays a big part in the dressing room is a huge thing at Newcastle. So that'll be the same at Sunderland, and he might be a big character in the dressing room, and he won't want to upset the balance. Who's he friends with? If he gets dropped, how's that going to affect his best pal in the dressing room? There's loads of little caveats and things that make a manager's mind up. So it will be interesting. But if it's coming down to football and football only, it's a football only decision. I think that's the decision that he will make. I genuinely think that will happen. Leeds, it's interesting because I've had a good chat with a Leeds fan this week, and he is convinced that Leeds will not fall apart this season. He's looked at the fixtures, he's looked at the games that Leeds have got to play, and he does not feel that Leeds will fall apart. And this is a Leeds fan who, in the past, has always said, "Oh, we'll blow it." There does seem to be a kind of a mentality change amongst the supporters at Leeds, a bit like Newcastle, really. Newcastle's got a different mindset for this cup final. In the past, it's like, we're turning up, we're going to have a good day, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It's people are going down there. I'm keeping myself for the Sunday night. There's some people saying I'm going on the Saturday. I'm going to have a bit crack and I'll have a couple of pints, but I'm going for the Sunday. I want to be sober for the Sunday. I want to enjoy the match, and we're going to win this time. There's and that kind of mentality. It sounds bizarre, but fans do play that part. So he's convinced Leeds won't fall apart, which would leave you Sheffield United, Burnley, and Sunderland. And who's gonna be that magical team?
Who's going to blink?
Who's going to blink? Yeah. I haven't gone as far as looking at the fixtures moving forward, but I'm presuming some of these teams have still got to play each other as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
we've played now after Monday. We've played the top 4 twice.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic.
And I think we probably have the better run in, but that it's Sunderland we're talking about.
Yeah. I think you've got a good chance, mate. I think you've got a good chance in this game on Monday. It's a big one, isn't it? If you lose this game, you lose momentum. But you also lose to one of your rivals, and it's a 6-pointer. So you've got to get something out of this game, haven't you? You've got to get something out of this game.
Yeah.
I think it'll be an entertaining draw. I'm going to go for a draw if you want a prediction for this one. I think it'll be a 2-2. Go for the Desmond. I think a 2-2, mate.
Yeah. Oh, very good. I'm sharing your views on that one. To be honest, I think we'll get a draw against Leeds. I think any kind of result there just sows a little bit of a seed of doubt in Leeds, and maybe not the fans as much. It's just the players and the staff who've been there previously. They might just get that feeling of, oh no, it's happening again. So I'm going to go. I don't think it'll be as high scoring as that. I think it'll be a very tense game. I think it'll be very edgy. I'm going to go for a 1s each. But I as much as your Leeds supporting pal will hate me for this, I think this is going to start the demise of Leeds. Maybe a week or two early. Normally it happens in March, but a 1s each, and I think Leeds will possibly just drop out those top 2 positions and blow it. Right.
Wow. Yeah, look, it's a massive game. It's one that really shapes how the championship's going to play out for me. Sunderland obviously the surprise packet for this season. Leeds are after the disappointment of the Southampton playoff final. They've kept the core of that squad. Daniel James is just incredible once again. Do you know what I mean? I think he's been 9 goals in the last 10 games or something at Ellen Road. So it's really, tasty because you've got Daniel James, you've got, Perot there as well that seems to be firing. You've got, can they attack 09 and the Circan wing, but then you've got the attacking threat of Sunderland against, Leeds. So it's got all the makings. I mean, and I think I was reading somewhere that Leeds have only won once against their last 7 or 8 games against Sunderland as well. So it's incredible there. I mean, I think there's a few draws in there, but yeah, I'm going to have to go 2-1 to Leeds, only because it's at Ellen Road, only because Daniel James, I think, is just insanely good at the moment. And I just think Leeds they're just not stopping. I just don't think they're going to fall away. And I know, we've been saying it about Sunderland, we've been saying it about but these teams up the top have proven that they are ready to go. And I think, the way that they've recruited and the way that Leeds are playing at the moment, it's they're not going to fall away. And I can see what you're saying about the demise and all that. And we've been saying the same thing about Sunderland, from Borough's point of view, but I just don't see Leeds falling apart at the moment. It's just, they just look too strong. Daniel James is too much of a good character and player. They've just got so many players in those, and they, with the ones they lost in Jorginho and everything like that, it's just, it's mouthwatering for me as a neutral to see what it's like. Because I honestly think this game determines a lot of how the rest of the championship plays out, like I said. So, yeah, look, I'm going to go a 2-1 win for Leeds just because it's at Ellen Road. But, look, it's going to be a great, great game.
So that's my former friend, Rye. So
Jonathan says, have I missed what's the fact?
Yes, Danil, I'm afraid you did. Rye just shanked one from 40 yards into the top right-hand corner.
Yeah. I've had a centre back shot, mate, from midway, and it's landed in somehow. I don't know how it's done it.
Midway, spoken like a true Aussie. Brilliant. Steve, Rye, we'll come back to you for your views on the Watford game, mate. Steve, big game today. I've made some notes on this. And I'm looking at it going, oh, wow, Newcastle versus Man City today at Man City. And to be honest now, there's absolutely nothing to fear for Newcastle, is there? Because that little bit of uppy-downy form that City had, Newcastle are in form. Away from home, I think they've improved drastically. There's those couple of games where they've got beat at home, the Bournemouth game being a key one there. I just feel away from home, a little bit of pressure off. The mood's good, the cup runs are ongoing. I just feel like Newcastle could potentially go to City and really, really cause a bit of an upset, if you can call it an upset.
Yeah, I mean, we've made a great got into a good habit this year of going to places where we don't win and winning, which has been a big plus. You know what I mean? Like places where you don't expect to get 3 points. We've got 3 points this year, so obviously we're hoping that continues. It's not a happy hunting ground. We haven't scored in the Premier League there since 2018. DeAndre Yedlin was the last person to actually score in September 2018. 510 minutes of football, 8.5 hours of football since we scored a Premier League goal. It's going to be our 20th attempt at getting a win down there. We've took 2 points from a possible 57 at the Emirates in the Premier League. On the flip side of that, it's Newcastle going for a club record equaling record of fifth successive Premier League win. Last time we got anywhere close to that was 1994. We, in all competitions, we managed to do that. So it was fantastic. It's fantastic to be in this particular run of games, in this run of form. And I think we're not going to get a better chance to go down there and get something at Man City. You don't know which Man City's going to turn up. They put a good performance in against Real Madrid, but they came away with nothing. They lost 3-2. And I think it'll be an open game. I think it'll be as open as that. Positive news from anyhow yesterday was that Anthony Gordon and Dan Burn will both be available for selection. Sven Botman won't be risked, but will be back for the Nottingham Forest game next Saturday. Still on the injury list, Joe Linton, Jamal Lascelles and Harvey Barnes. No time frame for Lascelles, but Joe Linton should be back within a month and Barnes should be back in the next 2 weeks. So a couple of big name players coming back, as we approach the cup final. Could also be 100 games in a black and white shirt for Callum Wilson today, who obviously found the net again last weekend against Birmingham in the Cup. So a positive there. Bookmakers don't often get it wrong. Newcastle 16-5 for a win, and the draw 16-5. Man City to win 3-4 on. So they still feel Man City's got an opportunity. They're missing Rodri, of course. They've got doubts over Nathan Ake, Jeremy Doku, Nico Gonzalez, and Edison. Jack Grealish and Akanji as well limped off against Real Madrid. No news on them. Potentially they could be fit to play though. We've got John Brooks on VAR, who choked up Alexander Isak's opener against Arsenal in the second leg of the semi-final. So I hope he's got his glasses on this week. And Andy Madeley's our referee. I'm expecting Newcastle to get something today. I'm not confident in getting 3 points. I do think it'll be a bit of a barnstormer on occasions today. I think both teams will go for goal. I'm tipping Isak and Haaland to both score. I think it'll be 2-2.
Okay, I agree. I think a barnstormer is definitely in the offing. I just think with those injuries, like you say, there's a couple limped off against Real Madrid as well. That Man City team doesn't react well to injuries against to main players now. That squad depth is just starting to look a little bit iffy, and it's creaking a little bit. I feel that the Geordies are actually going to get a result out of this, Steve. I really do. I do. I think it'll be a high-scoring game. I think you're going to get the better of it in a 5-goal thriller, and I'm going to go for 3-2 to the Geordies on this one.
Ooh.
He wants us to get beat. He wants us to get beat.
Wait, always? I'd be a liar if I said, I want you to win it. Right.
Yes, look, it's incredible, this one. The stat that stood out for me when I was looking into this game, when we were going to talk about it, was that Man City have lost just one of their last 34 Premier League games against Newcastle. and it was in 2019 where they lost at St James's Park 2-1. So in 34 Premier League games, Man City have only lost one of them, and I just couldn't believe that stat. So that was one of that Newcastle wouldn't want to see. But look, it's a different Man City this year, isn't it? It's a different struggle for Pep. They can be beaten. They're not invincible anymore. They've got huge amount of criticism in the way they play and their training and everything like that. So it's incredible. I mean, the Premier League wouldn't want Man City to be winning as well, because they're too busy in the courts as well. So it's tantalizing, this one. It's the battle of two, what I think in the next 4 or 5 years are going to be the two powerhouses because of the backing financially that both Man City and Newcastle have now got. This is the two powerhouses, and this I think will be the new Liverpool, Arsenal sort of in the next 4 to 5 years, it'll be Man City v Newcastle for the top dogs, I think. So it's going to be very interesting to see. I'm going to go for a Man City win just purely on the stat that they've only lost once in 34 Premier League games. I think they're going to bounce back from Madrid today, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than we think. I'm going to go for a 2-1 again to to Man City today.
Oh, well, there we go. Ruben, obviously, Middlesbrough, we've talked about the pressure that's on Michael Carrick on this one. You're at home to Watford?
Yes, we are. We're
home game,
Stadium. Yep.
Yeah, I just feel this is going to be...
It's a sad
unless there's an early goal for Middlesbrough, I think this could be awful. Watford are a good side as well. Tom Cleverley's got them really organised, and for Tom Cleverley to actually bring stability to Watford, which is something that club has never known probably since Elton John was still turning up for as many games as he used to. I think he's doing a cracking job. So for me personally, I think because of the mood and that little bit of toxicity that's creeping. Oh, there's a lovely word for a Saturday morning. Toxicity. It's also one of my favourite songs by System of a Down. But there you go. I think this is going to be a nasty one, mate. And I honestly think this could be the end of Carrick. So I'm very quickly going to give you my 2 halfpenny worth 2-1 Watford.
Yeah, look, I'm not excited. I mean, it's 2 a.m. kickoff for me. And it's one of those ones where it's like, do I just... You're
going to say 8-0, aren't you?
No, honestly, it's tough at the moment with us, but we just don't know. The one thing that frustrates me the most at the moment is in that season that when Michael Carrick came in and took over, we had 5 loan players. Those 5 loan players were crucial to our team in terms of Ryan Giles, Cameron Archer, Aaron Ramsey. Borough fans in the chat, you'll know what I'm talking about. Kieran Scott, our director of football, said we will never rely on loan players as heavily as we did this season. Right now, he's gone in January and signed 5 loan players, and they all started on Monday night against Sheffield United. So, and that kept the likes of Morgan Whittaker, a new record signing, out of the game because a loan player was starting. That meant Tommy Conway didn't start because of a loan signing. You know what I mean? So I'm now like, do not play loan players in front of players that are at the club. You know what I mean? I don't want to see Iron Archo today. I don't want to see Illing Jr. today. I want to see players that have signed on the dotted line for Borough. Morgan Whittaker, Tommy Conway has to start for me, and he has to change up the system today. Big in Dyke still for right back. Luke Ayling, he's lost his legs. He's completely and utterly lost his legs, Luke Ayling. So Dyke still's a massive, massive in for us if it is confirmed that he is fit. So look, I hope to goodness that Middlesbrough can get a result for today because Michael Carrick is running out of answers, running out of questions, running out of time quite quickly and quite considerably. I'm going, because it's at Middlesbrough, I'm actually going for a 3-1 win to Middlesbrough because I think Tommy Conway and Morgan Whittaker are going to start, and I think we're going to be too good for Watford. I think we're going to see a change to the system today because Michael Carrick knows it's now or never in terms of his managerial career at Middlesbrough.
Steve, over to you.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear I say that about Carrick because for a long time he seemed untouchable. He looked as if he was the Teflon Don. He wasn't going to get the bullet. But it sounds the way the Rye is talking tonight that potentially this could be the last chance saloon for Michael Carrick. And you would imagine that behind the scenes Middlesbrough are looking at a possible replacement. And it's sad because there has been money spent, there has been players brought in, and Sunderland know only too well how hard it is to beat Watford. I think this is going to be a bad day for Borough. I think this could be the end. It's sad, and I think Carrick will go away like maybe Eddie Howe did when he left Bournemouth, and have to recharge the batteries, look at his methods, what went wrong, what did he do right, and he will end up in another job. And good luck to him. But I think it's just gone stale. I think it's probably the fair thing to say. Middlesbrough, were there or thereabouts last season, a bit like Sunderland, but Sunderland have kicked on. They've got a new man in their dugout. They've kicked on and they've done really well. And Sunderland look, as if they've still got a chance of an automatic slot, never mind the playoff slot. Borough have gone backwards. It's as simple as that. So yeah, I can't say anything other than a defeat. It won't be a high scoring game. Probably a 1-0 to Watford. But I think this will be the death knell for Carrick's career at Middlesbrough.
Oh my goodness, the end of the cardigans. That's it's a sad day for right. What are you going to wear now, mate?
Shirtless, mate. Shirtless. It's a big game for Middlesbrough. I mean, you guys are talking. Obviously, the massive game for you guys at Leeds. You've got a massive game against Man City, but for Middlesbrough's season,
it's a big game for different reasons, isn't it?
It is. It's a really different game for us because I'm honestly scared for Carrick's future if he isn't able to get 3 points at the Riverside today, because the emphasis that we put on for this season was playoffs, and we are slowly falling away. He missed playoffs last season. He misses it again. I'm sad to think. And the hardest thing is, where do we turn? Maybe it was Mogga. He's just gone to West Brom. Do we look at, Liam Rosenois? You know what I mean? But he's obviously in France. You know what I mean? So look, it's
Big Sam.
It's Big Sam. Like, where do you turn? Aitor Karanka.
People laugh when I say it. He'll stop you conceding daft goals.
Yeah, not wrong. Yeah,
and that's your biggest problem right now. Somebody like Big Sam to show up that defence, mate. Then that would make him a manager that's managed Sunderland, Newcastle, and Middlesbrough as well, which is a bit of a rare one. But anyway,
managed
best of luck.
Mismanaged.
That's very mean, Steve. I'm sure he's a very nice man. Agent Allardyce did a great job.
Why don't you go for the other one? Get Brucey in. Get him from Blackpool.
Hey, don't say that, man. They love him down here. They absolutely love him. Listen, lads, thank you very much. Our hour is up. Looking forward to spend some time with Steve next week. That's going to be nice. Have a little lunch together. Yeah. We might do a video call to Rye and wake him up in the middle of the night as we're having a nice G&T. But thank you very much, lads. And Steve, I think you're on the hot seat next week, aren't you?
I'm in the hot seat next week, 9 o'clock start, because Ted's in the UK, so he's going to the Sunderland game next week. So we will be doing 9 o'clock next week. Pass it on for those who are watching. Thanks to the 290 people sitting watching live our show this morning. We don't take it for granted. See you next week. Take care.
See you guys.
Bye, everyone.
Crowd podcast will return. That's not a threat. It's a promise.